The Interstellar Bazaar is in full swing in EVE Echoes, and with it comes a new Nanocore, the CyberX Nanocore. This is fairly similar to previous Interstellar events that we've had in the past, with the Neon Rain and Illusory Ghost Nanocores, and the CyberX is actually a really interesting one to talk about. So in today's video, I'm going to take you through everything you need to know about this event, then we're going to take a look at the new CyberX Nanocores and talk about whether or not you might want to grab one of these, and if you do want one, how to do it. Now, it's worth spending a brief second at the start here just to explain that, first of all, I'm going to try and keep this as unbiased as possible. I'm personally not a huge fan of these big spender events, but I know some people absolutely love them. Therefore, the purpose of today's video is essentially to talk about how this actually works, to give you an insight into whether or not this is going to be worth participating in for you. This is an individual thing. Please do not fill the comment section up with all these kind of like, oh, I hate this, this is crap, this is awful, this is terrible. I'm kind of with you on that, but this content exists to help those who are interested in it, and that's fair enough on those players. Anyway, I'm Captain Benzie, and if you do enjoy this video, please do let me know by hitting like on it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and if you do want to go that extra mile to help support content like this, you can do so by heading to either my Redbubble merchandise store or my Patreon page. Both of those are linked in the description below, as is my PayPal account if you just fancy tossing enough money for a cup of coffee or something as a little tip. Anyway, let's jump right in then. First of all, we are going to talk about the new CyberX event and everything that this entails. This will take a moment to load up because, yeah, Zimbabwean internet. I'm hoping this loads before I run out of breath, but there we go. When you log in and the Events tab opens up automatically, the first thing you're going to see is Interface 0. This is essentially just a way of grouping everything in this event together and giving you quick access shortcuts. You can go up and down on the left-hand side here, or you can tap on the grey buttons across the center of the screen. Now, before we go any further, I just want to say that the new music, the new CyberX music on the login screen and when you're docked, I think it absolutely slaps. Like, genuinely, I quite enjoyed the Neon Rain, that sort of synth-punk value to it. The Illusory Ghost was pretty cool as well, but this one absolutely slaps. I love this tune so much. I've been playing it on almost near loop since I was sent the MP3 file, and oh my goodness, it is just such a great piece of music in my opinion. But anyway, let's jump in and talk about every aspect of this event. So first of all, we're going to look at the Interstellar Bazaar. Now, when you go down the list here, the first thing that's going to open up is the lucky chart. Basically, anytime anyone buys anything from the Interstellar Bazaar shop, which is entirely done in Aurum, that is a good and a bad thing. On one hand, it's a good thing because it means the Plex market is pretty much untouched. It doesn't cause massive inflation on Plex, which is exactly what would happen if you were to ultimately turn around and make all of this available with Plex. On the other hand, I appreciate that it cuts a lot of people out of access in this. I am one of those people. I do not have the disposable income anymore to just splash out on EVE Echoes. I pay my subscription. I occasionally grab things like the Concord Pass. That's basically it. That's basically all I can afford these days. And so for me, an event like this is it's too much. It's too much. Anyway, this bar that you're seeing here, this lucky chart that is on screen now, is essentially a leaderboard for the day's luck, and you can change it between the different days of the event. It's essentially a leaderboard for who is spending the most in EVE Echoes right now, and make of that as you will. Anyway, we then have the Interstellar offering. This is where, as people are opening crates across the server, they are generating luck. And the more luck they generate, the more of these get opened for all of us. And yes, that does include a freaking implant further down the line. So we do actually kind of want people to be spending on this because everyone will benefit overall. That is a good thing. The Starry Carnival is a bit more of a personal version of this. It is entirely within your own corporation. Who has generated the most luck in your corporation? Do keep coming back here, because once you reach a certain amount of luck as a corporation, you are then able to collect some of these rewards. Like there, I've just generated myself 4 of the purple implant materials. That's quite nice. That will help me level up one of my implants. When we get a bit further, it'll be 0.3 million Lazarus units, and this goes all the way up to 10 of the gold versions of the implants. There's a total of basically 900,000 skill points available here. If you're working together as a group, if you've got some big spenders in your alliance, in your corporation, then that's going to be awesome for you. It is free stuff for the rest of us, and a big thank you to those who are spending. Finally then, there's the Interstellar bonus. This is the most personal aspect of this. If you are purchasing Aurum during this event in order to buy things in the Interstellar Bazaar, then you will also get a rebate on Plex afterwards, and you can see this along the bottom here. If you spend 499 Aurum, you will gain 4% of that back as Plex later on, and that means if you go above 499 but don't reach the next bracket, you'll get 4% of the total Aurum spent back as Plex. That does cap out at the very end there. If you do spend over 131,960 Aurum, which is one hell of a lot of money, you're going to get 15% of that back at Plex later. So if you are thinking of spending here, just be aware you will get some of it back at a future date as well with some additional Plex. That's honestly quite cool. It incentivizes people to buy a bit more. Whether or not you agree with that is up to you, but it does incentivize those purchases by giving something back later on. You get Plex back later without affecting the Plex market right now. That is a good thing. It will increase the supply of Plex after the event, thus reducing the prices a little bit due to market forces. We also have the Capital Ship Manufacturing Contest. They're doing the leaderboards and that for that now, if you've been in on this. Capital Ship Maneuver is the new building here, so the amount of people... no, I'm talking crap with... yeah, that's the old thing of doing the PvP with the capitals. You can have some fun doing those. Then there is the 7-day login rewards. 7-day login rewards. Make sure you are logging in every day, though you do get a couple of days catch up if you do happen to miss some. Ultimately, the things to draw your attention to here are, of course, skill points, always a nice thing to have, and along the bottom you get a load of money off coupons. These allow you to buy stuff in the Interstellar Bazaar for a discount. Obviously, various different YouTubers and the official Eve Echoes Discord are going to be giving out codes as well for discounts, and we'll talk about how those work just a little bit later on. Ultimately, those are the main things that you're going to need to keep an eye on during this. There are also some daily login rewards that come in the form of mail, so if you are logging in, if you are logging in every day, I've got a new phone and the old one still complains from time to time. When you log in, you're getting Interstellar Bazaar Daily Luck. You get 3 lucky crates. These contain basically gift IP and skill points, possibly some extra bits and pieces here as well, and they do generate some extra luck, which remember helps you, helps the server, and helps your corporation. All good things there. It's free stuff. Ultimately, I can never complain about free stuff, even if that is gift IP and a pitiful 2,500 skill points. It's not much. It's not much, let's be fair. But I got 3 of these this morning, 7,500 skill points and 30 gift IP. It's still more than I would have had if they hadn't done it. So it's hard to look a gift horse in the mouth, and I think it would be unfair to do so. Anyway, so with all of that said and done, let's jump in now to the store. In the store section here, we're going to talk about the Interstellar Bazaar, what's in the crates, whether they might be worth doing, and how to work with the discounts. So first of all, you open up the store, then you go to Interstellar Bazaar on the left-hand side, and boom, here is everything. The first thing to draw your attention to is that every single day, most of these crates have the capability to give you additional rewards. They are an extraordinarily slim chance, but hey, when the rewards are this big, you kind of understand why the chances are so slim. There is a chance today to win a Minokawa. Yesterday it was a Leaf. They appear to be going through the different Force auxiliaries and giving away up to 5 of these every single day, which frankly is... I hear a lot of industrialists saying, oh, that takes business away from us. Yeah, 5 people on the server, maximum, out of all of the people who are going to want these. I don't think it's impacting industry all that much, and it's a nice thing to suddenly get. Today's faction battleship is the Nightmare. Yesterday was the Rattlesnake, so they appear to be going through those as well, and there are some options for different rigs and that come as part of this. But what are the chests themselves actually like? Well, first of all, we've got the generic chests, things like the skill points lucky chest, which if we tap on this, despite its name as a lucky chest, is actually guaranteed. You're guaranteed to get 100,000 skill points in this, and then possible extra loot today of the Nanocore, the Nightmare, Capital Laser, yeah, all of those different rigs down there. And you can see the percentage chance of these. They are pitifully small, like the Nanocore, 0.01216%. That is just... that's terrible. That is awful, but someone will win it. I think 2 or 3 of them were given away yesterday for the Leaf, so someone will eventually get that. You'll also notice that this has automatically discounted in the bottom right, and there is the discount code in the top right. So let's talk about those briefly. If you want to purchase something and you happen to have a discount coupon from the daily login rewards, for example, then you'll notice that this has automatically applied itself here in the bottom right. You can go into this, you can tap it off and then confirm, and that will then stop you using the coupon. If you want to change the coupon, you just go in and select whichever one you want to use. It's worth noting that these things do not stack. You can't use multiple coupons, and if you're lucky enough to get a 30% off or 50% off code from Discord or whatever, then you would use the discount code button here at the top. You type in the discount code, it will apply the discount to the purchase, and away you go. However, if you have a coupon selected, if I go to confirm use there, and then try to put in a discount code, it will give an error telling me that that cannot be done. So do be aware of that when you are making your purchases. Obviously, I would use the bigger discounts on the bigger purchase, because 50% of like 2,000 Aurum is a lot more than 50% of 75 Aurum, but it's worth noting you can use them on any of the boxes. And so you've got one for skill points, one for Nanocore materials, one for code refactorals, one for Lazarus units, one for IP lucky chests, one for implant materials, and then we have the 2 implant lucky chests. And these as far as I can tell, are absolute bullcrap. Now, everything else, including like the Nanocore ones, if I just show you one of these quickly, if we tap in it, you get the crate. You get the crate, right? You are guaranteed to get the crate and some skill points and some luck and some other things possibly. And it says here, can select one of the CyberX Nanocores. That's really cool, right? Yeah. That does not work with the implants. I haven't had confirmation that this is 100% the case yet, but if you have a look at these, we look at the standard implant lucky chest. Oh look, there's all of these different standard implants you can get. That's awesome. Except can obtain a random standard implant. There's no telling which one you will get. It could be one you already have, it could be one that you just don't have skills for. Now admittedly, these do sell for an absolute boatload on the market, so it could be worth investing in that. But for 600 Aurum with the discount, 1,200 to start with. There's also the basic lucky implant here, and where you can get one of the blue lucky implants, but again, this is done randomly. You don't get to choose, you get given one of them randomly, and that box is 3 billion ISK. Like, crikey, that's a lot of ISK for a random blue implant. So please be aware of that if you do go for the standard implant or the advanced implant lucky crates. You don't get to choose. According to what it says, you do not get to choose. It is random. Now, I'm hoping that this is just an error, that it's displaying the wrong text there. I don't think it is, but if anyone is watching this video and has bought one of these and can confirm if it's random or if it is a choice, please let me know. I will pin that comment. So if you are considering getting one of these, but you want to know whether it's choice or random, do just scroll down to the comment section, look for the pinned comment. It'll be right at the top, and that will be a confirmation either way on that. So a little bit of community reach there. While you're down there, make sure you leave your own comment, and please spend that second just to hit the like button. It does massively help us YouTubers. It takes you 3 seconds to click like. For me, it's worth its weight in gold. Anyway, let's have a look then at the different types of CyberX Nanocore, what they're available for, then we'll actually have a look at their stats next. So first of all, there are nanocores for frigates. These are for stealth bombers only. All 4 of the stealth bombers are represented, of course. We then have the lucky chest for faction cruisers next to that. All of the faction cruisers are represented. I just want to double check on this one because there are some unusual nanocores in a couple of these. Yeah, it's just the faction nanocores in these ones. Then we have the battleship one. This does have some interesting stuff in it as well. If we go to the bottom here, you'll notice in addition to some of the battleships, not all of them, it's also got the Noctis. So if you are a Noctis pilot looking for a nanocore, there is one available here in the CyberX Lucky Chest battleship. The others, notably, are not very evenly spread. You'll see that you can get a choice of the Apocalypse, the Abaddon, or the Armageddon, giving you all 3 of the Amar battleships. The Maelstrom or the Tempest from the Minmatar, the Typhoon, is not present, but for Caldari and Galente, you only get the Rock or the Dominix. So if you're flying a Hyperion, a Megathron, a Raven, or a Scorpion, there are not CyberX Lucky Chest battleships for you there. Please be aware of that. Those 6 ships are not represented, neither is the Typhoon. 7 of the battleships are not represented in this box. However, curiously, the Noctis is. Make of that what you will. I kind of think that shouldn't have been in Battleship, but there we go. The Noctis isn't a battleship, it's much closer to a cruiser, but hey, I don't make the rules. Finally then, we have the CyberX Lucky Chest for faction battleships, and again there's a weird one in here. We've got all the faction battleships, the Nightmare, the Balgorn, the Rattlesnake, the Vindicator, the Macariel, the Nesta with its recent buffs, the Barghest with its recent buffs, and yeah, the Macariel got some buffs as well, and the Orca. Curiously, the Orca gets a faction battleship nanocore in here, and it's actually not bad. It's really not bad, and we'll talk more about these cores in just a second, because there are 2 different variants that I want to, showcase to you now. Before we go further, it's worth noting there are a couple of other lucky chests available both for ISK, shown at the bottom here, and some for Plex. And if you are wondering what these 2 at the bottom right with the question marks are, those are just literally, if you've got some Aurum left and you don't know what to spend it on, they are just random stuff. They contain implant materials, Lazarus units, nanocore materials, skill points, gift IP. It's just a random spread. Complete lucky chance there. If you've just got some Aurum left and you really want to burn it rather than save it, hey, you do you. I'm not going to judge. Okay, I'm going to judge a little bit, but yeah, feel free to do what you want to do with your money, right? Anyway, let's talk about the CyberX nanocores then, because these are genuinely quite exciting to me. First of all, I'm going to actually come out of the store and just talk about the visuals for these, because I freaking love these. I wish I had the money to get myself the Healer CyberX. My Healer needs a nanocore. I don't have one at the moment, and quite frankly, this thing just looks amazing. I love the look of this. You've seen the Barghest one on the login screen. I love those sort of circuit board designs, the way it's that black, that obsidian black and the slate grey detailing there with like little hints of this blood red and sort of little silver accents. I adore how this looks. Okay, yeah, admittedly, if we're being completely honest, the fact that the neon gas was, not neon gas, sorry, it's not on here, I can't showcase it directly, I'd have to do that with a faction battleship, of course, let's go across and do that. If it was the Neon Rain one, it has that animated style to it, and as did the Illusory Ghost. So it's a little bit disappointing that this one doesn't have animations, but I guess they don't all have to. Like here we've got the CyberX on the Barghest. Again, just looks badass. I love it so much. Then the Neon Rain has that whole bit of like the rain on it and the equalizers. Yeah, I get that some people didn't like the pink. I genuinely do. I'm a big fan of synthwave and sort of that 80s cyberpunk aesthetic. This really did it for me. The Illusory Ghost as well. I love the look of this one, and the glitch effect it has when it's moving and doing stuff is just amazing. I love it. I watch people who have these there, that little glitch effect. It's gorgeous. It is gorgeous. Okay, not all of them have had animations, like recently the blue and white porcelain nanocore didn't, and the Sleeper doesn't have either. So it's a little bit disappointing that the CyberX doesn't. I think there could have been some really cool stuff they did with this, sort of like a synthetic metal look with it shifting and moving over it. I don't know, but I do really like it, and even if nothing else, the fact that that nanocore looks so amazing and the music on the login screen, I'm enjoying this event for that personally. But let's actually talk about those nanocores in a brief bit of detail. First of all, I'm going to have a look at the generic ones. Things that most people are going to look at are things like the battleships, the faction cruisers, and the faction battleships. And these are genuinely pretty cool cores. Let's pull up my favorite of all of these. Well, it's not really my favorite, the Stratiosis, but it's a bit more of a complex one. We'll look at a Cinnable. Let's have a look at a Cinnable for its stats. So the main attribute on a CyberX core is going to be 19.2% main weapon damage, 24% of your main tank buffer, and a 5 warp stability option. So being able to just go straight up with 5 warp stability if you're using this primarily for ratting and don't want to be caught by a PvPer, That's a cool little thing. I'm not a huge fan of them putting warp stability on stuff like this, but I know it's a popular statistic, so you know what, I kind of have to accept that they are going to do that. It's going to be popular, people are going to enjoy it. As for the secondaries, we start off with inertia modifier, warp speed, or flight velocity, which is a good little spread. Different ships want different things. Here on a Cinnable, I would probably go for flight velocity, maybe inertia modifier. Warp speed, not so much, although the Cinnable does benefit more than any other ship, arguably, from that, because it gets the bonuses to it. You then have weapon damage, but it is split between thermal, kinetic, cannon, thermal, kinetic, oh no, it's just thermal and kinetic on this one. On some of the others, it actually is electromagnetic and explosive in there as well. Here you have thermal, kinetic, autocannon damage, or strike cannon damage, which is quite cool. Definitely, if you've got a particular fit you favour on the Cinnable, that can be a good one to go for there. I just need to come out now and double check that. I really need to come out and double check that, because I was looking at the healer CyberX, and big note here, the healer now, and same with the rattlesnake and the worm, actually gets a bigger boost to its main weapon damage, 32% rather than 19.2. Remember, that's because on something like a Cinnable, 100% of your DPS, give or take the drone, comes from your cannons, whereas on a healer, it is a much closer to even split between missiles and drones. Thus, by giving just 19.2% to drones, it is an overall lesser DPS increase. The fact it looks bigger is not unfair, because the damage is split between two different weapon types. It is an equal overall gain. Anyway, let's go down to the second one here. Drone explosive damage, drone EM, drone kinetic, and drone thermal. Yeah, so I was right. I was right. In this case with the healer, you do get a choice between those. I wonder if that's the same then. I should have been really gone through this beforehand, shouldn't I? But it's interesting to show it. Yeah, same on lasers. Laser thermal, laser electromagnetic, or beam and pulse. So you get some interesting choices going on there as to how those are split. And I suppose on missiles and on drones, it kind of makes sense to do all four of the splits, because you do get the option of doing that. If you're using the warhead charge implant on missiles, for example, then you get to choose the missile damage that you are going to be doing with that implant, and thus if you boost just that one, hell yes, that's awesome. Interestingly enough, though, if you do want to use just beams or pulses or autocannons or strikes or snubs or rails or whatever, you do get the options for those. Anyway, let's continue down on the Ashimu now that we're here. Third one is then flight velocity, tracking speed for the turrets, and scan resolution. Scan resolution is an interesting one to see here. Again, a lot of people are just going to go for flight velocity or tracking speed, but scan resolution is going to create some really interesting scenarios where ships can lock on just that little bit faster. The fourth one down here is Energy Neutralizer, Energy Nosferatu, both absorption efficiency, neutralizing effect, or range. Then we come down to the fifth tier, and the fifth tier here has some really interesting stuff. You've got plus shield, plus armor, plus laser damage, or plus one mid-slot? Now, this is an interesting thing. I'm not going to say this is a good thing or a bad thing. On one hand, I really like this. On the other hand, I don't. On one hand, I really like it because, one, it showcases that NetEase are capable of modifying the ships to a greater degree than we thought when it comes to nanocores. I've said before, I would love to see nanocores that, like, remove the ability for an interdictor to use its interdiction sphere launcher or its warp field generator, and instead just give it more bonuses to damage, thus essentially giving us a Thrasher destroyer at tech level 10 that's not an interdictor, but kind of becomes like a Thrasher 2 fleet issue or something. That would be really cool. Same with, like, if you wanted to change a Rupture interdictor into essentially a Rupture 2 or a Rupture assault. That could be a really cool way of doing things, and this proves that that is possible, and we might see that in future. It also hints at the possibility of the Tech 3 cruisers like the Tengu, the Loki, the Proteus, that kind of thing. I can never remember the MR one because I don't fly it. Ultimately, yeah, it hints at the possibility of ships like that. I don't want to get hung up on this too much because this video will go into the hours if I do, but that's some really cool, interesting spreads there. And the fact that you can get that fifth slot. The downside of that I get is that it does massively go with E-War. I'm already dreading a Vindicator or a Daredevil or a Vigilant that has even more webs because it can just take that additional mid slot. And there's a part of me that sits there and says that's really quite scary. On the other hand, I think that's a really cool thing too. It allows for some really interesting builds, especially for people who are like flying an Ashimu, who are looking at the fact that this has webs, neutralizers, Nosferatu bonuses. You've only got 4 mid slots. You then want a scanner, and you probably want some kind of warp disruption or scrambler. You can't fit all of those now. You theoretically can, and a Balgorn with this is kind of scary, I think. And I think we're going to see some really interesting fits coming out of this. I'm holding off judgment of how broken this is because I think, one, it's a 5th level thing on a Nanocore. Yeah, there's an element of pay to win there, but at the same token, these are also super expensive on insurance, which is a good thing, because if you then, it's going to eat up IP if it's destroyed. I don't know, there's a lot going on here. There's a lot going on here, and I'm trying to give more an opinion on like how good the core is. Is it worth your money? At which point I honestly think yes, it is. If you have a ship that can use this, they are really powerful cores. The notable ones, though, if we come down to the frigates, these are the stealth bombers, Purifier, Manticore, Nemesis, and Hound. Admittedly, the Hound doesn't look great with this one on, the Nemesis really does, and I would love to get both a healer core, so I've got a decent core on my healer, and one for the Nemesis as well, because I love the Nemesis and how it looks, and it looks incredible with this core on it. Notably, when we look at the stats here, explosion velocity is on the primaries, which is huge for stealth bombers. That is the big stat that stealth bombers have as a weakness, so anything that can improve the large torpedo explosion velocity is a good thing. I did say that with the new changes to Siege mode, I am disappointed that Bombard mode wasn't also touched. Reducing the Bombard mode penalty from 1000% explosion velocity penalty to 100% like it is for Siege mode would have been a massive buff for stealth bombers that I really think they need. As for the rest, again, we've got warp speed, flight velocity, inertia modifier, followed by missile torpedo, kinetic, thermal, electromagnetic, or explosive damage. Again, that twins really nicely with the warhead charge implant. That's what I'm trying to say. We then have scan resolution, flight velocity, and oh look, more missile torpedo explosion velocity. That is huge. That missile torpedo explosion velocity, the fact that that is up to 11% on top of an already 22.2%, that is a huge buff that really helps stealth bombers actually apply their damage. Missile torpedo flight velocity, that's the one we just had a look at. No, it's not. Missile torpedo flight velocity for range, or micro warp drive or afterburner speed increase. The shield one at 5th level, again, we can go for shield or armor. Missile torpedo damage is quite nice, or we can add an additional mid slot. Stealth bombers with an additional mid slot is kind of scary, because suddenly that's additional, like a bomber's bar fleet that are using these nanocores. Just think about how much disruption you can get whilst still having an excellent spread of different electronic warfare. I really want to set that up. If you're interested in a bomber's bar kind of scenario, hit me up. Finally, warp stability is the final option here, along with the spread of damage again. Ultimately, the question you're all asking is, does Benzie think that the CyberX cores are worth the money? They're expensive. There is no two ways to look at this. They are expensive. I mean, if I wanted to get just the Nemesis one, it's $480. With the 50% discount coupon, that's $240. For me, 240 Aurum is £8.99. It's £9 for a frigate nanocore. That in itself isn't too bad, but that is with the half price coupon. Otherwise, you'd be looking at basically dropping $20 on getting that. Once we go up to the healer, on the other hand, this one I just flat out can't afford. That $720 already is more than I could get, but the fact that that would otherwise be $1440 is just crazy. That's like it's nearly $50. It's nearly 50 quid for that nanocore for a healer without the discount. With the discount, you're still looking at over £20 to get that. Okay, that's small fry compared to what some people were paying for the illusory ghost cores and things like that. Personally, I can't afford that kind of payment. I don't have disposable income for this kind of thing. I know some people do, and if you have the money for them, they are definitely very good cores. The stats are really nice spreads. That additional mid slot opens up so much possibility. Just the basic stats and secondaries are all really clearly geared and thoughtfully designed. I also love how they look. So take from that what you will. If you think that you have the money to spend on something like this, go for it. They are cool nanocores. They are going to serve you well. I think they are really, really good. Keep your eye on the official Discord. Keep an eye on my Discord as well. I am occasionally dropping codes when and if I get them. I did the first wave yesterday, the new waves as I get given codes. But hey, let me know your thoughts and opinions on this. Do you like the CyberX Nanocore? What do you think of the music? Which Nanocore would you be getting? And most importantly, have you bought one of the lucky boxes for the implants? Do you get to choose, or is it random? Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Otherwise, folks, thank you for listening to this rather lengthy video right the way through to the end. Happy sailing, and see you in New Eden!